I'm HamsterBomb.
I'm Matt.
And you guys are back for a Let's Be Honest episode. Now, this one is going to be a little different from what I've done before. Typically, Let's Be Honest series I do are heavily scripted, heavily edited videos that bring about I'm going to say, typically an unpopular gaming opinion. Though this unpopular gaming opinion has grown a lot of traction lately, and we're going to discuss a lot today about Gamefreak. Now, I want to make sure, before we even get any farther into this, with ground rules, I don't want any videos or articles or anything that you guys see online to change the way you feel about a game. If you are hyped for any new Pokemon games coming out,
get hyped. It's like
be
Monster
hyped.
Generations. Be hyped.
Yeah, be hyped. Even if it's not a popular thing, like a good example, like Matt, super bummed against Monster Hunter Generations, but he's not telling people out there to not be excited about a game. So that's absolutely not what we're doing about Sword and Shield.
You're not allowed to have fun.
Just want to say that first. So, but at the very least, we want to talk about some general things about the company Gamefreak, and being honest about what they've done. Because both of us have played Pokemon since its inception in the 90s.
Yep.
So we've seen what's gone on with this company. We've seen a lot of formulation things, and we want to sit down and talk about these because a lot of players who are coming in at various times through its history might not be seeing things that are going on, especially with a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, and we're not necessarily talking about Pokemon per se, like the series of Pokemon. We're talking more about
the
specifically Game Freak developing
Gamefreak. And to make sure that you know what the difference is, the Pokemon company is a larger company that owns a bunch of smaller things and gains revenue through those. So think of like the trading card game is different from the companies who do the plushies or the little toys you see in the store.
Pokemon Go is different.
Pokemon Go, there's manga, there's an anime series, there's a bunch of different things. Obviously, Pokemon Go is different, like you mentioned.
Pokemon Quest.
And then Game Freak is just the company who does what we call the main series Pokemon games.
Every generation.
That's basically it, yes. So, if you're not seeing Game Freak's name on it, if you're playing Pokemon Shuffle, it is different. You're playing Pokemon Ranger, Coliseum, Stadium, any of that. Not Game Freak. Pretty sure it's not Game Freak.
Stadium, I don't think so.
I don't think they had anything to do with Stadium. But anyway, so regardless, we're going to talk about Game Freak today. So I've got some notes, hopefully, to make sure that we stay on point and stay categorized here. But of course, I'm always a mess, so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, one thing that I want to point out first, before we get anywhere about Game Freak as a company, is what's been going on lately with the Nintendo Switch. So let's just take a back seat. Forget about Game Freak. The Nintendo Switch lately, everyone, it seems, who's been making their new game on it has been thinking of ways to reimagine and impress their audience.
Oh, yeah.
They think of things that are like, what have we done when we originally started this series that we couldn't do back then because of maybe hardware or software limitations? How do we make it amazing? So series like Zelda, Mario, Smash Brothers, Monster Hunter even, not even on a Switch, but just think about what those series have done.
Well, we can count Generations Ultimate on the Switch.
Yeah, we could, but just in terms of like reinventing themselves, like, I jokingly call, instead of Generations, I call Monster Hunter World Monster Hunter 2.
Yeah,
because of how many things that they've done to reinvent it. It's more like it's the true too. Breath of the Wild, it won Game of the Year for all of the. It's completely different from its formula, but it's so true to what The Legend of Zelda was. That's why it succeeded.
Well, it's not even really that different from its formula. You go, you explore dungeons, you can do all that,
right.
But they're let's add some new stuff to it.
It's still a Zelda game.
Give it a taste.
Yeah, it's still a Zelda game, but it's finding a way to be more true to that. So, to us, hoping that Game Freak would see these changes and how it's not only making these games successful, these are Game Award-winning content these game companies are coming out with. Mario Odyssey, Smash Brothers Ultimate,
and the fact that the Switch was such a success because the Switch was a gamble.
Yes,
they took a
Switch
gamble
was a
on the
huge
Switch.
gamble.
They thought it was going to fail.
Speaking of which,
they admitted multiple
Game
times.
Freak also thought that it was going to fail. I'm sure we're going to come up with that later. Unfortunately, Game Freak, just as a company, typically doesn't seem to be the kind of company who ever wants to go out of the way and try and make these kind of changes and reimagine anything.
They don't like change.
No, instead it seems they've repeatedly ignored what our requests are, our complaints are of other games, and then they opt out to do more low-effort formulated Christmas sale boosted releases.
Yep.
Which is what we've come accustomed to. Now, just for an example, if you don't know what I mean, about the Christmas sale releases. I'm basically talking about the fact that it seems that almost every single year we get a new Pokemon game, and it's coming out in the Christmas retail season of before
Near Black
December.
Friday.
Yes, near Black Friday. So basically, you're getting a November, October release. Okay, so just an example. We know Sword and Shield already has a release date. It's coming out November of 2019. Going back last year, we have Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, November of 2018. Go back another year, we have Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, November of 2017. Go back another year, we have Sun and Moon, November 2016. Okay, so we're not even really improving much. It's more like pump a game out, because we even know, like,
It prints
Sun
money.
and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon got a lot of complaints because it felt like the game was unfinished in a lot of regards. We're not going to get into those right now, but
Well,
you can tell
I've even
why.
heard complaints when people say the game felt the exact same as Sun and Moon. There was
Exactly.
barely any change.
Barely any change. The Gamefreak seems to be just, the company itself seems lazy. And I think they're really going to get hit hard with this coming game in particular, as we'll cover further. But
Yeah,
and now,
we'll
if you go back another 2 years, because they actually skipped 2015. There was a lot of other stuff in 2015 as well, but mainline Pokemon game, we were all expecting to get Pokemon Z, which we didn't get. I've got a theory they were actually working on it and had to repurpose it to turn it into Sun and Moon, as there's a bunch of weird things with, like, Zygarde, which was left unfinished.
Right, they just
X
kind
and
of
Y.
ignored it.
Yeah, a lot of things. The Sun and Moon felt like the Pokemon Z that we never got, which was odd. We'll talk about some of that later if it comes up. But if we go back to 2014, November was Oris. And you go to 2013, October, X and Y. Now, if you go back before then, of course, it's pretty much every other year yet again. But those in particular were the worldwide releases. Before X and Y, it was all kind of scattered.
Right, we had to wait.
Right, and technically, I think X and Y and Oris were not quite worldwide. It was within like 3 or 4 days, but it was close enough to be considered
Yeah, it was
worldwide.
close enough, because I remember
These-
having to stay off Cerebi for spoilers and
Some
stuff.
of these other ones before X and Y were all over the place, and it was months apart. Japan typically got them all first, and for the record, the Japanese ones pretty much always came out in September.
Yep.
So just kind of throwing that out there. It's all kind of scattered, but still, that's basically, that should tell you something about when they're releasing their game consistently. That doesn't mean that they're really efficient at what they do.
No, it doesn't.
No, that should tell you they're in this for the money.
They're in this. They're in a conveyor belt kind of system.
Yes, it's a formula. You know, there's basically just an executive on top. It says, make another one. Make another one. And when are you going to release it? You're going to release it at Christmas. We're going to get those Black Friday sales. You know, we're going to be raking in the dough. And then when people realize that the game's not great, we're going to release another better version the next year. And another thing I'm sure we're going to bring up, we're going to release 2 of the same ones. Yeah, so that's actually my next thing on my notes. They're still selling 2 nearly identical games and getting away with this in this day and age.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that made sense back in the day of the Game Boy, because the idea with the Game Boy was there was no internet.
Right.
There was no way to have other people play against each other, and it was a multiplayer game. That was the idea. So you had to actually get a physical link cable, connect your games together to make it happen. And the idea was to encourage people to do that, because they didn't think they would do it at all.
Right.
Was to make sure you have 2 different games.
Right.
Make
Encourage trading.
Exactly. Encourage trading, you're encouraging battling, and it helped the game spread. Now, right immediately after that, they made Pokemon Yellow. So they were trying to make like a definitive version. And they kept kind of doing the definitive version, and they stopped at Platinum.
Right.
Ever since then, they were like, no, this releasing 2 games at once, Black 2, White 2, we keep making more of the same version. Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. You release them in 2s, and now you're basically selling...
You're doubling it.
You're doubling your profit, which is really unfair, I think, to show off what your profit actually is. So when we talk about Game Freak's actual net profits, honestly, if I were you, I would divide not by 2, but I would say at least by 1/3, because there's a tremendous amount of people who buy both.
Oh, yeah.
And another complaint, it's not even in my
This
script in here.
is going to go off.
This is something, this is off tangent a little bit. This really particularly bothers me with Sword and Shield, because this is the jump from portable to, we can call this console, right? Main console.
Yeah,
because this is going from a $40 game
to a
$60 game. You wanted me to buy 2 of those?
Well, did you see what you get when you buy the dual pack?
What do you get? Like a bunch of more digital
No.
Pokeballs, or
You get a little keychain of the head of the starters.
little plushie?
Little plushie keychain.
Yeah, no thanks. Sorry.
And you don't even get a price cut. Like
for $120.
Yeah, and you don't even get a price cut for it. Like, okay, I'm buying both, so let's cut it down to $100.
Right. So basically, my first main point out there is to showcase Game Freak seems to be valuing money over its players' input and actual criticism and trying to repair and fix their gameplay.
Yep.
So, the second point, we have some serious dwindling sales over time.
Oh, serious?
Yes, and these are going to be a little depressing. So, I want to point out one thing in particular. Niantic's 2016 release of Pokemon Go has upstaged Game Freak in a ludicrous way. Like,
that makes me smile.
Ludicrous way. So,
because I do love Go. I love Go a lot.
I love Go as well. We were actually, just before filming this, we were out playing raids in Pokemon Go ourselves. No joke.
Getting that armor.
You know what we were not playing? A Game Freak game. So, Pokemon game sales. I'm going to just list these. Over time, this is with inflation, by the way, so I'm not messing with these numbers. And I'm also going to tell you the general sales of how many units that actually equated to.
Right,
okay?
how many units were sold.
So, Generation 1, 513 million in sales, and that equates to about 59 million units. Okay, this is sadly the pinnacle.
The top.
That was the best. They never did better than that.
Now we're talking Game Freak.
This is just Game Freak. Now, when I say Generation 1, that means Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Red and Green, because in Japan it had a different name. That's the same thing. That's not cheap.
Gen 1.
If you cut the inflation out of that and kind of fix the numbers, it's actually substantially less. But, of course, this is the 90s, and, of course, it changed up.
Right.
So, Gen 2, which was soon after it, that sold for, lump it all together, $2,663,000,000. And that was 42 million units average. So, it's still really good for a sequel of a Game Boy game back then. That is outstanding. But we're going downhill a bit. Now, one thing I want to point out about this line in particular, from here on, it can't even come close to competing to what's happening with Pokemon Go. So, if I can jump ahead.
Go ahead.
Just to Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go's sales, for reference, and this game is
technically a free-to-play.
Free-to-play. I honestly have only spent some Google Play credits into it, and very little at that.
Yep.
And this game is way surpassing everything else. I'm just going to talk about its sales first, okay? Just the money. We're going to talk about the people in a bit. So, Go has so far brought in, and is it 3 years old yet?
Yes. We literally just had the 3 anniversary a couple days ago.
I think we just had it. Okay, so 3 years, and this number might even be old, has brought in $2.45 billion. Holy crap. This one mobile app. Here, I'm comparing one, because you're like, okay, well, Alex, you were talking about bigger numbers before, just with Gen 1 and Gen 2. Think about this. How many games was that? How much work went into developing those and printing all those cartridges? How much did you lose? Income is different than profit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
This is profiting substantially over this. And the most important thing I want to argue is actually the people. Remember, the people who were playing Gen 1 and Gen 2, we had like 59 million units versus 42 million units, right?
Right.
Pokemon Go. No one has to buy a Game Boy to play this. You don't have to buy a Nintendo Switch. You don't have to buy a 3DS. You have a phone. It's over 550 million downloads. Those people playing that, even if they paid nothing into Pokemon Go, think about this. They might go to Target and now buy a plushie or buy a pack of cards. They're inadvertently...
It can reignite the spark that some people lost. Like my dad plays it.
Your dad plays this game.
And he's on the same level as me and you. He plays
awesome.
this.
He was joining us for the raid fights. So, do you see what my point is here? There's something special that Go did. And my argument here is, going back to what we started this whole thing with, is Go looked back at what the original games were. How do we take that idea and make it work with modern hardware and software? And that's exactly what Go is.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, Go's not perfect. It's had several bugs.
No. Niantic has had a lot of issues. Yeah.
But they fixed them.
That's the thing. They fixed them. So I'm going to run through the quick numbers just to get through the other generations, because you're going to see a trend going on. So remember, we just stopped at, because at this point on, like I said, even with inflation, Game Freak is not even holding a candle to Pokemon Go.
Nope.
And this is lifetime sales. Pokemon Go is still going. Another thing. So Gen 3, you're looking at 1 billion. 996 million total revenue and 36 million units. Then you go to 1,368 million for Gen 4. We're declining. We have 25 million units. Now, kind of impressive, Gen 5 was really close to Gen 4 with 1,316,000,000 and 24 million units sold.
And to be fair to cut in, I do really like Gen 5.
Yeah,
Gen 5 is actually
me too.
Really
Just
fun.
a little side tangent. I gotta say, Gen 4 compared to 5 is
5 superior.
Substantially better. I know a lot of people diss on 5, but 4 has so many more problems with it. And the numbers don't lie. It lost a lot of people in Gen 4 to 5 as well. And then going to Gen 6, this is where it tanks. Ooh. So now you're looking at 1,000,001,000,000 sold total. That's it. And 16 million units. Okay, compare this to Gen 1. 59 million units sold to 16? What the heck's happening? Now, if you chart this out, this is a steady decline.
Right, and you can't say it's like,
it
the people who
fast.
played Pokemon are growing up and don't want to play anymore. You have an
bull crap.
There's a new generation of people like every day.
Look
There's more people.
Look at Let's Go, and I'm sorry. Look at Pokemon Go. Clearly, those people are there and they want this.
Yep.
They are there.
It reignited it.
You have an audience.
Reignited a huge spark of a lot of people.
Their audience exists, yet they do not give them what they want repeatedly because it costs money to develop a game that the players want. Moving on, Gen 7. This is the only time in their history they actually grew. And they went to still a lousy 1,265,000,000 in revenue and 24 million units sold. So that's matching 5, but remember 5 is in a steady decline.
Right.
So that's still not great. And depressingly, the recent one, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, only 600 million of revenue and 10 million units sold.
That's sad.
That is sad. Now, to be fair, it's still selling now, but let's be honest. Game Freak makes most of its money on its Christmas sales initially. Yeah. It's been about a year now.
Well, it's not good when the game immediately goes on sale either.
Yes, that should scare people.
One of my new favorite games is Ace Combat 7, and that just went on sale like the $30.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a fun game for me anyway, but the thing I'm realizing, like even Monster Hunter World.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Monster Hunter real quick. They're coming out with Iceborne in less than a month now?
Yep.
Almost not a month away.
Probably by the time this comes out, yeah.
Now there's a difference in this kind of sale where on PC now it's $30.
Nice.
But here's the thing: the reason they're doing that isn't because their sales are hurting.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted more people to play.
Exactly.
So that way, when Iceborne comes out,
people in.
You'll get more people.
Exactly.
That's a smart sale. Right now, I can probably go into GameStop.
Same thing happened with The Witcher.
Oh yeah, The Witcher.
They was a Game of the Year sale as soon as Witcher 3 won. They dropped that sucker down to like 30-50% off.
Yep.
Because they're like, well, we just want more people to play our game. So there's something that Game Freak's not learning here. So I think to bring us back around, this seems to be low ambition and formulated rehashings, which are just resulting in dwindling sales and more disappointed fans. Because here, if you're disappointed with a game, why are you going to buy it?
Right.
Why are you going to buy their next one?
It's literally, I just keep thinking back to the EA and Bethesda moments where they're like, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And every one of the fans went, okay.
All right.
And nobody bought it, and then they panicked.
Yep.
And they're like, well, why aren't you buying it? You told us.
You told us.
You told us not to buy it. You told us if we don't like it, don't buy it.
The real power to controlling what these companies do is with the consumer. You are voting of what you want with your wallet. Mm-hmm. Now, you can love Pokemon. I love Pokemon.
Everyone
loves Pokemon.
Pokemon's fun.
Apparently, 550 million people love Pokemon.
Well,
okay?
And here's the thing. When we say we love Pokemon, we love Pokemon.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
We love Pokemon.
We love Pokemon. That doesn't mean that my love for Pokemon has to extend into consistently purchasing whatever new Christmas dribble comes out of Game Freak's anus this year.
Yep.
I'm not doing it. I'm not falling for it again.
No.
This is probably, the reason I'm making this video is probably the first generation I completely skip.
I agree.
I'm not. We're going to get more into the actual game itself. I know we're talking about Game Freak, and I'm sorry. Hopefully this stays consistent.
Iceborne.
Honestly, I'm with you there. There's so many other great games, so many other companies knocking it out of the park right now that Game Freak, I can't believe, I thought this was going to be the generation.
Well,
I thought this was going to be it.
Well, with my information, we'll get to that here in a minute.
I hope so.
We'll keep.
So anyway, sales are dwindling. So anyway, Go is just absolutely booming and reimagining the original games with modern software, which is something that Game Freak has seemingly not even considered. So Game Freak has been trying to cash in on Go's success with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, as we mentioned before, but to minimal success, as we saw the numbers in there. Honestly, I thought that was a great idea. But
like, I like the concept,
not working.
But if Game Freak didn't make it, probably like if they would have gone to Niantic and said, "Hey, if we give you the resources, do you think you could do this?"
Now, I don't think they would have ever owned up to that.
No, they probably
wouldn't. It's just sad. So, anyway, clearly didn't work. But now Game Freak is fearing backlash from the Pokemon Company itself, because as I pointed out before, the Pokemon Company is a larger thing. Think of a Venn diagram, and inside of that is Game Freak.
It's the parent company.
Yes, it's the larger parent company. So they're thinking they're going to get some backlash from this, and they're trying to justify their high development costs for a low revenue ratio. Because Pokemon Go, think of how little money goes in developing a game like that, and how much money it brings in. You know those executives at Pokemon Company are looking at that like, wow. Because they're making a ton of mobile games now. You think of Pokemon Shuffle, Pokemon Duel, Magikarp Jump, Pokemon Quest.
I'm excited for Masters, in all honesty. I really want to play Pokemon Masters.
Another new one. So they are pumping these things out because of the insane rate of how much revenue it can bring in versus how little it costs to develop it. And people love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's important. You got to find that line. And Game Freak just, they are not paying attention to this. Like, what's baffling me is every other game developer seems to get it now. Even like the stubborn ones like EA, you know, they know, but they're too greedy. You know, that's the thing. Yeah, surprise mechanic. Anyway, let's not get too far.
But like, say like, let me look at also say about this about Go. Say Go came out, and they're like, hey, we're gonna charge 99 cents for the app. I would still pay that 99 cents in a heartbeat.
Totally.
I'd throw $1 down, and be like,
Absolutely.
all right, let's go.
Even if it was an annual subscription of 99 cents, you got me for sure.
Definitely.
And you know how much revenue they'd bake in if they did that.
Oh, they'd
like Matt had an earlier idea. He said, what if they charged 1,000 Pokecoins for a Master Ball in Pokemon Go? You realize
that would sell like hotcakes.
That digital bit of code could net them millions of dollars.
Yep.
But honestly, they're probably more worried. Like, we want to make sure our game is balanced. You know, they're probably thinking this might do things that we're not anticipating.
Well, that's why, like, even like I think it was like 3 months ago, they had to rebalance the raids because people were able to do level 4 and 5 single-handedly, and they're like, well,
wow,
that kind of beats the point of the raids.
Defeats the purpose. The purpose is to get people together.
Right. So they adjusted it. They fixed it.
Mm-hmm. That's unfortunately something we have not seen from Game Freak yet. So in response to this incoming backlash that I'm sure they're going for, Game Freak did something I never expected they would do. In the wrong direction. They started developing their own independent game called Town. Basically, as a backup, which inadvertently... Let's not even talk about the game Town. This is inadvertently splitting the development team in half between Town development and Sword and Shield.
Yep. Also, I'm just curious in the comments. Who has heard of Town? Because I didn't know it existed until he told me. And I didn't even know it was a thing.
I saw it on a Nintendo Direct, and I was laughing. I feel bad. I honestly feel bad about that, because I want Game Freak to do well. But I saw this, and I thought, this looks like everything bad about X and Y 3D thing that Game Freak won't let go of repeated formulated junk that they do, and bad storytelling, bad gameplay.
It looks like a bad Ni no Kuni.
It looks like a bad Ni no Kuni, and... I'm not even a fan of Ni no Kuni. It looks like a bad Ni no Kuni, you're right, though. But the thing is, they're doing this because of the Go backlash. So I'm frightened about this entirely. So anyway, I'm really...
Let's get into the major...
So specifically, let's go to Sword and Shield, because these reactions have been mixed at best. And what's really interesting, before you say this, what's really interesting is Pokemon games tend to roll with the hype excellently. They tend to get people so freaking pumped for their games, and then as soon as it releases, then the reviews come out, then people don't seem to care, and then everything kind of, the hype train stops.
It's like, this is honestly, we've been playing Pokemon for what, 13 years, 1996? Give or take?
Yeah, it's been...
I have never, like, I've seen some people complain, but I have never seen this kind of backlash.
This is intense.
Like, this is literally the equivalent of the kind of backlash, like, I like Star Wars.
Oh, yes.
And I have...
Just like EA.
I get, like, the people didn't like the prequels, but
right.
the backlash they're getting right now with Disney's Star Wars...
This isn't even out yet.
It's getting destroyed. It's like, I've never seen fans gather so many pitchforks and torches so quickly.
That's why I want to jump in. The point of this video and the reason we're going over all this is I hope all this damage does something good in the end. I want Pokemon to succeed. I want, maybe in the end we're gonna have a bit of a theory. Maybe
honestly, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of Pokemon going anywhere. It's not going anywhere.
Oh no, Pokemon the company, it's not going anywhere. It's Gamefreak. That's why we're talking about Gamefreak.
Yep.
So
like
anyway,
I know we'll get a Generation 9, and it's gonna be a good Generation 9.
We'll get a Generation 20. But with these numbers,
oh my god, how old will we be?
Oh man. So anyway, what's interesting about that hype train I mentioned? We've always, even though the sales were going down every time, the units sold were going down every time. We always had that hype. Oh, yeah. Always. I was the odd one out who would say, like, guys, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon looks like a crappy rehash of what you had before. Why are you excited about this reformulated package stuff?
I think the only time we were actually genuinely excited about the third, like the
new generation?
Not the new generation, like the sequel to the already existing.
Oh, the sequel.
Was probably Black 2, White 2. Because we were shocked at the fact that
that was
doing
interesting.
A sequel. It wasn't the Z or Crystal or anything like that. It was a sequel.
Yes, we were hyped for it. In hindsight, it was another cheap way to make more sales. But still, it was cool and new.
It was different.
It was different.
There's that word again. We don't like that word.
It was different. So, anyway, that's what's so weird about this. So, Sword and Shield is the first time in Game Freak history that they're getting hit with such harsh criticism pre-launch.
You know it's bad, especially when it's on Instagram. Jesus.
All right, so what are these criticisms? So, first of all, the big one you've probably heard of.
Everyone's heard of.
No National Dex. Now, honestly, when I first heard this, I really didn't care too much. I didn't think about it too much, but I didn't really care too much.
It didn't slap me in the face. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Because and first, to be fair, I'm going to cover everything Game Freak said to defend this.
Okay.
So, and there's a lot of things, which, I mean, it's kind of understandable. Think about it at this rate. They confirmed over 1,000 Pokemon.
Right.
Honestly, that is a crap ton of work.
That's a lot.
Now, think of how much that's really asking for, especially if your boss says, this game has to come out for Christmas sales. You go like, okay, guys, that's insane. We can't do this. They're not even taking a year off from the Sun and Moon era. So this is really asking a lot. So Game Freak's responses, I want to just jump straight in these. And also, one more thing I want to point out. Mega Evolution is officially gone.
Oh yeah, it's dead.
Officially gone. So just as another thing, just to tease people as well with the no National Dex. So Game Freak's official responses. This comes from Junichi Masuda. He says, just like all of you, we are passionate about Pokemon, and each and every one of them is very important to us. After so many years of developing the Pokemon video games, this was a very difficult decision for me. I'd like to make one thing clear. Even a specific Pokemon is not available in Pokemon Sword, even if a specific Pokemon is not available in Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, that does not mean it will not appear in future games.
So no one's getting Thanos snapped, essentially.
Right, so don't worry if you're not able to bring up your shiny Garbodor. You will in later games, is what he's trying to say. They're trying to work on more. They're going to develop.
And that's Masuda, too. That's Masuda.
He is Masuda.
He is, for me, me reading that is him trying to, like, put himself between the rabid fans and Game Freak. Like, he's going in front of Game Freak, trying to put them behind him.
He's trying to block him. He's honest. He's body blocking this.
He is. He's trying.
Which, I mean,
I give him credit.
I
give him
this
credit
guy.
for that.
Yeah, I do greatly respect this guy. Now, another one here. This is actually a kind of a synopsis of Pokemon's actual reaction from their live streams. And this is a quote coming from digitaltrends.com. The designers had to balance importing as many Pokemon as possible while updating them to take advantage of the Nintendo Switch hardware. The decision was made to allow Pokemon from the new Galar region to be imported to the RPGs, as this also addresses possible competitive gameplay issues with so many available Pokemon and combos available. And I saw your jaw open when I said a certain thing.
Yeah, I know.
You were just about to...
I'm sorry. I was reading that because I do want to read the quote, but...
I saw the
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I saw that. You were about to... Don't you dare. And that is the particular reactions that people are getting here, because the defenses that Game Freak is coming out with is actually making things worse. So... Really if you didn't get it, the hypocrisy there was really evident. Though there are some understandable points in there. So, like, I'm going to say specifically the competitive zone.
Oh, yeah. Competitive is full of cheaters and hackers.
It's totally full of cheaters and hackers, and I get that. They're trying to figure out, like, hey, there's some combos that we weren't expecting with, say, this Machamp and this new Pokemon we just made, or maybe this thing someone found in Gen 5 that's going to have a problem with this new one, so they're trying to figure out how to fix this.
Or the people who just hack them in.
Right, and honestly, that was the only reason that I heard when I heard first about no National Dex, and I thought, that's
a fair reason.
That's fair. I understand that. Everything else they said here
is complete lie.
Is a lie.
And I can't wait to get to that, but we're not there yet.
We actually are getting there. So it seems like Pokemon were selectively removed for competitive balancing, saving time from importing and for boosting sales of future games that actually include them all. So, in my opinion, that's more like a cruel sales mentality of taking away perks from a customer with the hope of selling them the same things back to them a few years on. Which is basically, think of like an example of like YouTube Red.
We're gonna try and forcibly give you nostalgia. To the point where
it's more like selling them stuff that they already had. So think of the YouTube Red. We had all of those things for free before. YouTube decides to take them away and say, would you like a paid upgrade service? Which is basically old YouTube.
No.
So that's what Pokemon here is doing with Gamefreak. I'm sorry. Gamefreak is doing this by taking away some of the Pokemon, and then there's going to be another version this generation. They're going to come out and say, don't you want the upgraded version with all of the Pokemon in the National Dex? And people are like, about damn time.
Yeah,
they're not. This is not working. So. Also, there has been little and possibly no updating of the Pokemon either through graphics or animation to the Switch as they claim. That's the big one that I remember them saying that is a freaking lie.
Yeah, and I'll get to that when I talk my little bit at the very end. But,
I have a little bit here. Actually coming up in just a moment.
We're getting into the points.
It's actually, because of this, it's actually very likely, looking at the Switch game that we have now, that we've seen live streams over, we've seen a lot of content of this.
We've seen people play it at E3 and stuff.
We've seen a lot of people play this. There's been a lot of trailers. Now, it's likely, I was going to say here, that this was actually a late development system swap from 3DS to the Switch.
Yes.
So what kind of evidence did you find?
Well, for one, we already know the models are the same as X and Y. Like, the whole, we're upgrading models is bullcrap. The only models they are upgrading are the new Pokemon they're making, because they want it tonight. True. Which is going to, one, look really freaking weird when I got a high-def Yamper out there next to a Pikachu that looks like it came out of
You're saying high def, but I want to throw one more thing
You know what I mean.
Even though, say, Yamper is an example, it's a Corgi, right? It's a furry Pokemon. You'd think, the Switch, with this kind of power, can we have a fur texture?
Yeah, we could.
Something, I know it's asking a lot, but honestly, like, if you were going to make Pokemon look substantially different and redo the models, make them look great for the Switch, if they made a Pokemon game that only had, like, 150 to 300 Pokemon accessible in it, no National Dex, if people saw the Pokemon and they looked that fabulous, no one would be complaining.
Like, I'm going to go to the far extreme here, but I feel like the Switch could handle it.
I bet, yeah. It's turn-based combat. It's easy.
If you look at the, obviously they look a little weird in the movie, but like Detective Pikachu.
That's a little too
I know.
But...
I'm using one Pokemon as an example.
Yeah.
And I'm using Growlithe.
Yes.
When you see Growlithe in the background, he looks like he does in the game.
It's just a fur texture.
He just has a little bit more fur texture on him. He looks like a fluffy puppy, and I
get
want
away
that
with that
fluffy puppy.
The thing is, what's taxing on the game is not the textures, it's the polygon count. So the more detailed the fur, yes, it's going to be harder. But the thing is, if you make that a texture...
Yeah, and I'm not asking for, like, Pixar levels of texture. I'm asking for Breath of the Wild.
We just don't want it to look like crap.
The dog in Breath of the Wild looks better.
Yes, he does.
And you can pick him up. Anyway, that's a side point.
Anyway,
some of the other things that are pointing out, like, why people are thinking this is a game that was made for the 3DS and got ported to the Switch. There's a couple things. One is the box art. This is a very long stretch one, but it makes sense.
I thought this was the best point, though.
When you look at the box art, the legendaries don't fit really well on a Switch box.
Yeah, the Switch box, it looks kind of weird.
It looks very plain.
Compare it to, say, Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu.
Right.
Those are made for it, clearly.
Right, and it looks very plain. You're looking at it like it's boring. It's just the legendaries and the words. However...
Yeah, what's going on here?
When you look at the dual pack...
The dual pack, for the record, is combining them on one image, which is two squares.
Two squares on top of each other. They fit perfectly. In that aspect ratio,
yes, so clearly...
they fit perfectly.
So that means that, if this is true, that Ken Sugimori art... in the designs and everything for this game,
was prepared for a
3DS game.
But that's not it. You have the bad graphics. That's another thing. It's like
it's ported.
If you're porting something,
it's ported. The Pokemon themselves have been ported from X and Y. Sun and Moon, we got an update to the environments and the people, but that was it.
Well, not even that. Like, when you look at this one, people have already pointed out by watching the trailers and stuff, and I don't know if this is a time constraint or to save money. Who's your rival in Sun and Moon? Do you ever remember his name?
How?
Yeah. There's a scene of him.
Hate him.
There's a scene of him going like this, like he's super excited. He's explaining something.
Jumping up and down. You mean?
Yeah, he's doing that.
Podcast.
And someone pulled an exact frame by frame of your new rival this game.
Doing the same
thing at the same angle.
Oh my.
And he's just doing the same
God.
motion. Like they overlaid it even to see. It's the same thing. And honestly, I can't believe I'm going to say this. It looks worse in Sword and Shield because the frame rate doesn't look right. You're looking at the frame rate and it looks like there's like a point of frame animation missing or something.
Now, to be fair, well, I was gonna say no. I was gonna say to be fair, this game is in development. That's bullcrap. This game's done.
Almost done.
This game's basically done.
But there's that. There's
it's coming out on Christmas.
The other thing that it had to have been made for a handheld was they were working with Niantic. They did not develop this. I want to make that point clear. They did not develop this aspect.
Mm-hmm.
In 2017, they were acting with Niantic on raid battles. Because Niantic came and said to the Pokemon company and said, okay, we're going to introduce this thing called raid battles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be this thing where all the trainers get together and we're going to fight.
Right.
Gamefreak came on and helped them, was with them during that time. So the whole fact of them now just introducing basically raid battle and the Sword and Shield doesn't make sense. Like, we already had it and it was done better in Go.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we haven't, obviously, this hasn't had its chance to be tested out in the real world. But the thing is, imagine, the Dynamaxing raid battle-esque idea in Sword and Shield on a 3DS.
Yeah.
That is a system you can fit in your pocket.
And
that is something
around.
You can carry around with you, and people can actually play them with each other.
Right, so if they wanted to feed off that of the fun and the money coming in from a raid battle.
Okay, I was wondering what you were going for.
I have been stuttering a lot today. I don't know. It's okay. But, you can just tell, this is not made for the Switch. Look at the graphics. Look at the fact that I can guarantee, how, what was I'll ask you this. I'll see if you can even remember it. What was the one thing we really loved about the maps in Monster Hunter World?
Oh, man, no loading zones.
What do you think Sword and Shield's going to have?
Loading zones galore.
What does Breath of the Wild not have?
No loading zones.
What does...
Well, I mean, unless you're going into a shrine.
You know what I mean.
A shrine, I get it.
I'm talking you're in the open world.
Yeah, your open world, right. Which, we're talking more about that open world later.
Right.
That, air quotes, open world.
It's like they're not doing it. The fact that when you're walking around, another aspect that people have pointed out, it had to have been made for the handheld rather than the Switch, was the fact that you're running around in the overworld, and you're running next to this Tyranitar, and he's 7 feet tall. He's a big Tyranitar.
Right.
But you go in the battle of him, he magically shrinks.
Yep.
So he's
Pokemon
using the same
size. Even though Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, those use the correct sizes of Pokemon in and out of battle.
Well, Coliseum even did it.
Coliseum did it. Think about it. My point is, Game Freak did this.
Yes, and
Game Freak did this last one. So you fight Brock. Onyx is huge. I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No, you're good. I'm just trying to remember.
It might come to you later because I have a lot of other points to go down.
It's no, it was one more thing. It just had to do with the size change. It had something to do with the sizes of the Pokemon.
Okay.
I'll remember it.
I'll continue. If it comes to you, let us know.
It's gonna bother me now.
So anyway, I'm going to list a few of the points, just going down the list of the general criticisms. One of the big ones, of course, as you were touching on, and I'll skim over this quickly, is poor graphics and animations.
That's what it was.
Okay.
It was the Wingull. It was the Wingull.
Oh my god, I'm about to cover that. I'm going to cover that, okay?
I'm sorry. It just, as soon as you said animation, I'm like...
Animations are disgusting in this.
I remember.
As you mentioned, this appears to be a direct port of Sun and Moon's character and environment-wise, and an exact port of the 3D Pokemon models and animations from X and Y. For the 5th time, by the way. Now, I want to point one more thing out. Yes, they're porting these things over, and it has to technically look a little bit better, but you're not actually going into the model and changing a poly count.
Right.
This is something that is just a simple smoothing. You're exporting it differently.
You have a skeleton. You have a skeleton.
Yeah, you didn't do anything. You didn't make a new model. You didn't build new bones in it. You didn't re-rig it. You didn't reanimate it. You didn't do any of that stuff. And yes, I know what I'm talking about. I have made a game before. Don't even go there.
Well, we've all... even in college, you and I both used Blender. We learned how 3D animation works.
Yeah, Blender, Unity...
we had to make a project for it.
Yes, I've used plenty of these things. So, anyway, it's sad. And fans are specifically calling Game Freak out on their poor animations in the overworld and in battle. One young fan, as you were going to talk about, I believe he's a high schooler.
No, he's in his first year of college.
First year of college. And he's just now learning how to use 3D animation. he basically called Gamefreak out on this and made his own video, basically animating and remodeling and re-rigging and re-matting the bones and everything of a Wingull quickly. And it's very nice and showcasing how terrible the official one is. These Wingulls, just to get you a visual, because obviously we can't show it right now, they are basically in the Pokemon game as if you just took the model and you just rotated it.
They just rotate.
Like,
I honestly think I'm actually
terrible.
Curious. I wish I could pull up my Go account.
It's okay. We're on podcast anyway.
Pokemon Go, I'm pretty sure Wingull flaps his wings. Is he sitting
he does.
for you? He sits there and he doesn't do a major fly because that's not how Wingull flies in the games, but he does.
He's supposed to be gliding, yes. Yeah. So it's basically porting it over.
But the fact that in this trailer, the Wingull is so low to the ground and he's just kind of hovering around.
What's also really bad that the other fan did was when Wingull turns, he goes on an angle. He needs to flap his wings. Birds don't just completely pivot.
Only Garchomp can float without doing anything, all right?
It doesn't make any sense. So people are finding a surprising amount of environmental clipping and graphical bugs throughout the footage shown over the live streams. Now here, on a live stream or a trailer, you're supposed to put your best foot forward.
Right.
What the heck is going on with this? Have you seen all of these?
Oh, I've seen them all.
There are a lot of graphical, like walls that are floating in the air, people that are clipping through the ground. It's a mess. There's like no shadows in some places at all.
That really bothers me.
Poor reflections. I didn't even notice that Kim pointed that one out. Awkward skyboxes and models are clipping together. Vast emptiness as well. Like the route that is the wild area that's supposed to feel so big and so free is really just more like a glorified route, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just a glorified route because it's segmented.
Now, one interesting thing, have you heard of the Yamper controversy?
Which one?
So...
It's sad that I have to say which one.
Yeah, that is sad. So, I mean, everyone, design-wise, Yamper's cute. We all asked for a Corgi, so this is great. That's about the end of Yamper.
But once again, this is not... Game Freak didn't make Yamper.
No,
the Pokemon Company.
That was technically Creatures Inc.
Yeah, that was Creatures Inc.
That is different. Don't give them that. So here, this is just Game Freak. Now, Game Freak in particular, I want to point out what happened here. God, I'm just gonna go through this. This is an absolute mess. So basically, after Game Freak was claiming that they needed to drop the National Dex in favor of better graphics and animations, fans have obviously, as we mentioned, have been constantly calling them out by asking the obvious question: where are these changes? Because what we're seeing, this is all the same.
It looks like on a 3DS.
Now here, the big example is with Yamper. Yamper, a new Pokemon, was just showcased using the move Tail Whip. An old move, makes sense. Which, since X and Y in 3D, has had a terrible imported animation where the Pokemon basically, like, his model lifts off the ground.
Jumps up, turns around.
No, he doesn't jump. The model itself doesn't move. Yamper's model stays stationary. All of a sudden, the whole thing, as if you couldn't move the bones, it floats in the air, rotates all the way around, and just starts wagging back and forth. It's like it's floating awkwardly.
Oh my god, I can't believe you just said this, because I realized that I've seen this, and I was wondering what the GIF was, and the GIF shows a Flareon from Pokemon Stadium 2 using Tail Whip.
It's the same animation.
No, it's not. The Flareon turns around and actually waves its tail.
It wags its tail, right.
And then turns back around.
I've seen a bunch of these. People are showing a ton of GIFs of Stadium 2, and Coliseum. If you've seen a bunch of these lately, this is why. There's one fan in particular who basically reposted the Coliseum trailer. Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay, so basically it's kind of a slap
I just
in the
like
face
looking at the giant Wailord in Coliseum.
For one, the animations and quality of what you're getting out of Coliseum was substantially better than what we're getting now. As in, like, reactive, specific animations to Pokemon. Say, even though you're doing the same animation, one Pokemon will have a different way to do it. You know, instead of a very typical slideshow version of what Game Freak does.
Right.
Now, the original trailer basically had, like, a riot in the beginning of people... If you remember Coliseum,
yeah, I remember
Snag'em, you know, the team where they were turning Pokemon Shadow, and you had to save them.
I do want to talk about something
them.
completely unrelated to this as soon as you're done talking.
Can I get there?
Yeah, because it's just, once again, what other companies are doing better than
Right, so the original trailers, people like picketing and rioting, like, we gotta save the Pokemon! We need all the Pokemon! We need all the Pokemon! We need to save them, purify them from the evil corporation! I'm not kidding, this is what it says. And then they show, like, you know, you snag and you steal the Pokemon back from the other company, and you have to purify them and save them. Which is obviously a whole inside jab to the evil company being Game Freak, who is doing horrible justice to these Pokemon. and you need to save them back and put it in other companies. Is basically what they're trying to say. So what were you going to say?
It's funny that you worded it just like that, because people have data mined the latest Go information for the newest updates.
Okay,
and stuff.
Pokemon Go.
Yeah, and obviously Armored Mewtwo, but they're also
something Game Freak has never done up to this point and should have, and has been requested to.
But they've also found some interesting keywords.
Okay.
Words being darkness, purify.
Oh man,
they are considering
shadow Pokemon.
They're not necessarily shadow Pokemon like a bunch of them, but they are considering Shadow Lugia's coming.
Well, I've heard Shadow Lugia was coming,
and like if they do that, you can guarantee I'm gonna take you and we're gonna go get a Shadow Lugia.
People are freaking out about this, so that's obviously a big thing.
Yeah.
But just try and stay on topic. I don't want this to go on forever. The actual Pokemon designs themselves have also been hit with a lot of criticism. Now, technically, like I said, this has been done by Creatures Inc. and Ken Sugimori.
Right, like, and there's Pokemon I don't like the design, but I don't think I've really truly hated like an entire generation.
No, I really dislike Gen 4, but there's a lot of them I really like in Gen 4.
I like Doterra. Doterra is one of my favorite things.
There's a lot of them I like. But still, most designs this time look uncannily similar to past Pokemon.
Oh, yeah,
and
they do.
that's what their complaints are.
Oh,
these Pokemon, like, we have a Roggenrola again. We have a Mary again.
We have the, what's the Mecha... People call them Mecha Gods.
The Celesteela?
Yeah, that looks exactly like Gigalith.
Yeah, there's so many. We have so many that just look exactly the same, and people are just really disappointed by it. Honestly, this one, I mean, the argument is, come on, they're getting to a near 1,000, give them a break, but why are you redoing the same things instead? You know how many other creatures we don't have yet?
Yep.
How many living animals and insects and plants that just aren't there? Why did we need another Jumpluff? You know, why did we need another Slurpluff?
And another thing, going back to the whole National Dex thing, why they can't have it is they're like, oh, we want the Pokemon to be region-specific. Okay, well, if you're going to make new Pokemon, like, for Sun and Moon, why we're not, like, if you're going to be on an island, why were there not, like, a huge ton of new water Pokemon?
Yeah, but even still, it doesn't make any sense because even in all those games, sure, you were not able to capture everything in-game to fill up the National Dex.
But you could do it.
But you could do it by transferring.
Yep.
Now, which is a big thing to segue us into Pokemon Home and Pokemon Bank.
Oh, God.
This is disgusting.
I'm so sick of Pokemon Bank.
It's getting worse. So, basically, even though Game Freak has developed a transfer service known as Pokemon Bank, as a way to gate off players who didn't pay an annual upcharge just to transfer and store their Pokemon, they decided to create another app doing the exact same thing in order to ensure players are required to pay for both services to transfer their Pokemon. And insult to injury, with the National Dex thing making it even worse, you can't even bring them all. If you can't even bring some of your shinies over. So this is, in my opinion, possibly the most money-grubbing scam I have ever heard.
Oh, it is, because like
Pokemon Home.
It is, because, and I'm gonna go back to Pokemon Go for a second. I don't know why, but
it's a good game.
It is, but like my major complaint with the fact that I can't complete the National Dex is just regionals. But they still make it like, hey, you just gotta find someone online, be their friend, and trade them. Like, they didn't make it fully impossible, but they didn't make it easy because they wanted each place to have like their own special thing. Yeah, we got stuck with Tauros, which is stupid, but
well, I mean here. If we were stuck with, say, Farfetch, we would have said he was stupid too. It's whoever we happen to have. We're going to get used to them. But still, it encourages people to travel.
Right.
And
like
that's the
you went
idea.
down to Kennedy Space Center and you were able to get like
Heracross.
Did you get Corsola?
It wasn't there, but I did find a Corsola, yes. And it was all from traveling.
Right.
So I get that. That's awesome. And also, it keeps people from quickly finishing the game too quickly. You know,
exactly.
There's always something to go for. You know, and maybe like a reason to go on a trip somewhere. You know, it's just a fun game. You know.
Yeah. It's fun. There's that word again.
I'm sorry, I said the F word. So
we're gonna have to bleep that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bleep that. So going on one more, I'm really disgusted with their halfway attempt at an open world.
Oh, you're giving it halfway,
dude. When I saw this trailer. Because at first when I saw this Sword and Shield, I was like, okay, this doesn't look that exciting. And then I saw what was the open world. My jaw dropped. I was so excited.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Because I thought they finally did it.
Nope.
No. Basically, this is just appearing to have an open world in the trailer. It was more of like a dodge, dang a little carrot in front of your head, we're going to yank it away.
I can still guarantee you're going to run through a tunnel and there's going to be a loading screen. You'll go to the next area.
Yeah, you will. Guarantee you.
It may be a big area.
It's basically, as we've learned now, it's basically just a large gated area. And by large, it's not even that big. This is just considered a glorified large route. The route, it's not even that big. You can see the edges of it from any one point. And this was made to work on a 3DS.
I'm just saying, I'm smelling a lot of invisible walls.
Yes, also, the actual map. Have you seen this?
I've seen the actual map.
The actual map is extremely linear and very small.
Yeah, you just go straight.
You go straight. Never once has this ever... It's just a straight freaking line.
You just go straight up. And then you battle the Queen of England and her army of Yampers.
Alright, next big point of contention, Dynamax and Gigantamax.
AKA, we saw Pokemon Go do raid battles, we went to them for help, and they did it better.
Aside from that, basically, this is possibly the laziest iteration of the new series gimmick, which is AKA Mega Evolution, which is gone for good, and Z Crystals, which I also think are gone. So here, Mega Evolution is where they started with this new gimmick, where they basically said, hey, we're going to design a new version of this Pokemon, it's going to get stronger, we're going to add more in the next games, which they did. Then they started taking them out in favor of Z Crystals, which, well, you know what? Designing those new Pokemon was hard. So instead, what we're going to do is make this little crystal thing that you can just put on a new move, and it's a generic end-all be-all thing. Now, let's make that even simpler. Dumb it down even more. Just make the model bigger, and you have 3 turns of the Pokemon being stronger. That's it.
I do love... And the thing is, once again, going back, you can tell support the Z moves, how your Pokemon don't move when they're doing it. It's like even their idle animation is like sometimes locked.
Yeah,
the only ones who aren't are like Snorlax, where it's like a cinematic. But if you're
like when they're taking damage.
Yeah,
Colosseum doesn't even do that, by the way. They're always moving when they take damage. There's a lot of gifs of people showing Colosseum and Stadium stuff. But anyway, so moving on, because we're still not even done with the criticisms, and we're almost done here. I'm sorry we're going so long. There are still no actual changes fixing hardware and software limitation problems that originated from the Game Boy.
Nope.
This may be my biggest problem, because this goes back to what we started this whole thing with. People need to reimagine what their game is. You know, think about Pokemon Go. It did all of this. It thought of new ways to fix all of this. So things that the Game Boy limited Pokemon into doing. Say, having only 4 moves. You know, maybe you can only have 4 moves at a time, but maybe you have a move pool constantly that you're able to swap out and select as you learn more. You know, just little things. You could think of ways to fix this. Outdated and unimproved turn-based combat. We're using the same crap from 97.
Yep.
You know what? There's very, very few games today who are doing RPGs and are still using turn-based combat.
Well, even, like, I'll even say this. Final Fantasy VII. Let's look at Final Fantasy VII.
Look, even Final Fantasy VII, the original, rethought of how to do turn-based combat because it timed you and said you can only do that at a certain time. You know,
may want to
the new one, the remake completely blasted it out of the water. It was incredible.
Well, even Final Fantasy XII was like, okay, you can attack, and you're allowed to move and dodge, but you gotta wait a bit before you're allowed to attack. And then, do you want to use it now, or do you want to wait until they're at a vulnerable point and you can hit them?
Same deal. Think of like Ni no Kuni. We brought that up. That game is compared to Pokemon a lot. Think of how that uses what should have and could have easily been turn-based combat and makes it into an active, organic gameplay akin to more like Xenoblade. It's way more fresh. Yep. People want this now. And if you're remaking something for the Switch, this is your time to do it.
Right. And don't even give me like, oh, there's a limitation on the moves they can learn. Pokemon Go had a limitation, but that's because battling in Pokemon Go is tapping a screen.
It's tapping your screen. Come on.
But even still,
they did the tapping the screen to reinvent how the game worked. Well, it could have been turn-based.
It's not even that. They even went too far because people were like, well, they can only learn in one move. They're like, okay, we'll let you learn more moves and you can use them, but it'll cost you stuff.
You have to grind for it.
But they gave it to us because they said, hey, we want more moves. They're like, all right, we'll give it to you.
They accommodate.
Yes.
They make a way to make it work. And
like, you may have to wait a while.
They'll even wait a while. They'll even wait a while to give us specific Pokemon because they want to make sure when they give it to us, it's done right. Think of Ditto. Think of Smeargle. When they want to implement these, they want to do it right.
And they want to do it in fun ways. Ditto's fun because you don't just go out and find a Ditto.
Smeargle, he gets to like photobomb people and sketch their moves. So
I love that. That's great.
Now, back to the... Sorry, we're losing the...
Sorry, we keep going to the fun game.
All right, so badges to limit your exploration.
That's stupid. This
is something that I gave Sun and Moon a lot of kudos for when it canned it in favor of Trials, which honestly, Trials ended up being kind of crappy, and
It was kind of crappy, but they at least tried.
But they tried. That's the thing. I give it to them because they tried. It sucked, but they tried. The thing is, they brought badges back, which tells me they're like, nope, formulate it. Clearly, we tried to experiment. It didn't work. Go back. Which, it just disappoints us some more. Now, I've heard this complaint a lot, and honestly, I didn't think of it until it was brought up to me. what's called menu hell and disorganization.
Yes.
Poor user interface.
Yes.
Pokemon notoriously has crappy menus.
Yes, they do.
So we're not even going to dig into that. Just try and play the game for a while. So, one more thing. Still doing wild encounters when it's practically obsolete at this point in RPGs?
And they kind of got it. They kind of fixed it with Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Let's Go. They fixed the problem.
And then it's gone.
And then it's immediately gone. They even made the wild area to basically taunt people, say, hey, we learned our lesson. We figured out how to do that. Oh, just kidding. There's still wild grass patches that you're going to run into. And shiny Pokemon and Pokemon you're going for are still going to despawn instantly in front of you. There's so much. And there's more than this, honestly. I'm just trying to... I know it's ironic. I was trying to keep this short.
Honestly, we might do an update once Sword and Shield comes out.
We may. If you guys call for it, we totally will. Like I said, I want them to succeed. I want this to do well. And like I said at the top of this, don't let any of this change the way you feel about a game. If you're hyped for this, go buy it. Go play it. Have a good time. But...
It's literally the definition of, I'm glad you can enjoy something I didn't like.
I'm very glad you can enjoy it. Because I am so sick of being hit over the face with the same formula for over 20 years. And I need more than this. So to end this, I want to have a little bit of a more fun conversation, especially for some interaction. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. The Pokemon Company, I'm serious, might finally be ditching Gamefreak for a better game development company. And if this happens, I want to hear your opinion. What game development company would you want to have the rights to Pokemon instead of Gamefreak? Just think of like your favorite RPGs.
I'd say like you said earlier, Square Enix. I like the I don't remember their name. The people who developed Horizon Zero Dawn, because they were like you said, they were a first person shooter.
Guerrilla.
And they made an open world.
They figured out how to make it work. Now, Kim pointed this out, and this is a dream come true. CD Projekt Red.
That would be good.
Now, holy
crap. But they're kind of busy with
We have to wait like 10 years for it. But oh my god, would that game be perfect.
Oh, it'd be perfect.
I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. I know this has gone super long, and I'm sorry about that, but
it needed to be said.
There's so much we had to say here, and I want to make sure that you guys know at least our opinion on this game, because I'm being completely honest with you. I am so unimpressed with this new Pokemon game, I don't think I'm going to buy it at all.
And it's not like we're bashing because we want to bash and get on the bash.
No, I never have fun
We're
with
not
that.
Really even bashing. We're just saying what things they're doing wrong.
This is coming from a Pokemon fan.
Exactly.
We love Pokemon, and we hate being lied to. And that's what this game is to us right now. It is being... It's just a lie.
It is.
So, regardless... We still want to hear from you guys and your opinions down in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about Gamefreak, and what company would you want to see a new Pokemon, new series game be taken over with instead. Regardless, that is all the time we have for now. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Remember to like the videos and subscribe for more. We will see you all in the next episode of whatever the heck we do with Let's Be Honest and Pokemon Podcast.
Let's Be Honest rants.
See you guys.
Bye.